Okay, and before we fully get into Volume 2, this is the start of Volume 2. But before we fully get into our Riddle Report, we're doing Late Night with Gotham podcast, which goes over the Gotham villains from, that were main big bads in the last volume.
The Late Night Gotham Podcast number 1. Blockbuster in Gotham. A small studio apartment somewhere in Gotham. Soundproof foam lines the walls. A cheap microphone sits between two chairs. A glowing laptop screen reads, Live, Late Night Gotham Podcast. The intro music fades. Harper Row. All right, Gotham. Welcome back to Late Night Gotham, the podcast where we talk about the city's weirdest stories after midnight. And by weirdest stories, she means criminals, monsters, and the occasional billionaire vigilante. Harper snorts. Tonight's topic, one of the biggest brutes Gotham ever had the pleasure of hosting, Roland Desmond. Cullen whistles. You mean Blockbuster? Harper taps the desk. Yeah, before he ran Bloodhaven like a crime kingdom, before Nightwing started causing him headaches, Blockbuster spent some time here in Gotham. Cullen leans toward the mic. And if you don't know who Roland Desmond is, picture this, a mob enforcer who thought the best career move would be turning himself into a giant, super strong monster. Which, Harper says, to be fair, worked for a while. The Gotham years. Cullen scrolls through notes on a tablet. So originally, Desmond wasn't even from Gotham. His operations were mostly out west. Rackets, smuggling, organized crime. Harper nods. But eventually he shows up here, probably thinking Gotham's criminal scene was easy money. Cullen laughs. Yeah, big mistake. Harper gestures dramatically. Because Gotham already had a monster. She pauses. You know, the guy in the cape. Cullen chuckles. Batman. Harper leans closer to the microphone. Now, this was early Batman era stuff. Gotham was still figuring out what the heck this guy was. But Blockbuster? Cullen says. He didn't care. Right, Harper continues. Roland Desmond tries to build a crime network in Gotham. Protection rackets, underground fight rings, the usual. And then Batman starts knocking down warehouses, then smashing drug labs, then flipping entire operations upside down. Harper spreads her hands, and suddenly the giant crime boss realizes something. Cullen smirks. Gotham is not friendly territory. The clash. Harper lowers her voice. There's this story, never officially confirmed, about a fight between Batman and Blockbuster in the Narrows. Cullen nods. Yeah, I've heard that one. Supposedly, Harper says, Blockbuster ripped a car in half and threw it, and Batman still took him down. Cullen whistles. That's insane. Welcome to Gotham, Harper says. Half the disappearance. Cullen flips another page on the tablet. And after that, Blockbuster disappears. Harper shrugs. No arrest records, no prison transfer. No body, nothing. Cullen leans back, and then years later he pops up somewhere else. Harper grins. Bloodhaven. Cullen nods slowly. Which explains why that city's been such a mess. Harper taps the microphone again. And now there's a new player over there. Cullen smirks. You mean Nightwing? Harper nods. Yeah. She smiles slightly. Blockbuster thought leaving Gotham meant leaving Batman. Cullen laughs. Turns out he just traded one vigilante for another. Closing, Harper stretches. All right, that's tonight's episode. Cullen glances at the clock. Next week, we're talking about Arkham Asylum. Harper groans. Oh, great. The world's worst mental hospital. Cullen grins at the microphone. If you're listening from Arkham, try not to escape before the next episode. Harper leans in. And Gotham, lock your doors. The outro music fades in. The city outside hums quietly. And somewhere far away, a giant crime boss in Bloodhaven is preparing for war. End of episode.
Anyways, I wanted the Row twin siblings. I don't know the twins really. I think they are in some universe. But I wanted Colin and Harper to be in my universe. But not as superheroes right away. So I'm going to be using them as like these podcast people talking about stuff going on in Gotham. Anyways, this episode is going into Arkham Asylum and two of its most famous doctors. It will be. The next one will be going into 2 of its inmates, and then the final one will be going into a asylum. We wanna go inside Arkham. Arkham Asylum.
The Late Night Gotham podcast number 2, Inside Arkham. The same small studio apartment. Rain taps softly against the window. A neon sign from the street glows through the blinds. The laptop reads, Live Late Night Gotham podcast. Intro music fades out. Harper Wright Gotham. Welcome back to Late Night Gotham, the show where we talk about the city's problems after midnight. Because frankly, that's when they're the quietest. And because half the criminals in this city are asleep or in jail? Hopefully. Harper smirks. Last week we talked about Blockbuster and his time messing up Gotham before relocating to Bloodhaven. Cullen nods. And tonight we're talking about the place where Gotham sends people like him. Harper taps the microphone. Arkham Asylum. Cullen sighs dramatically. The worst hospital in America. Topic 1, Dr. Hugo Strange. Harper scrolls through notes. So let's start with the guy currently running the place. She looks up. Hugo Strange. Cullen whistles. Yeah, that guy. Harper leans closer to the microphone. Officially, Dr. Hugo Strange is the director of Arkham Asylum. Brilliant psychiatrist, top of his field. Cullen raises an eyebrow. But if you talk to certain people in Gotham, they'll tell you a different story. Harper nods slowly. There are rumors that during the early years of Saw Batman, there was an incident called the Monster Men attack. Cullen flips through a notebook. Yeah, giant mutated humans rampaging through Gotham. Total chaos. Harper taps her screen. And here's the weird part. All records about who created the Monster Men? She pauses. Gone. Cullen leans in. Completely wiped from every database we could find. Harper shrugs. Except for one thing. Some people claim Hugo Strange was involved. Cullen folds his arms. But publicly, he acts like the most normal doctor in Gotham. Harper nods. Polite, professional, calm. Cullen tilts his head. So if he's innocent? Harper finishes the thought. Why did he hire the next guy we're about to talk about? Topic 2, Dr. Jonathan Crane. Cullen exhales. Okay, this one is wild. Harper laughs. Yeah, let's talk about Jonathan Crane. Cullen reads from his notes. Former psychology professor at Gotham University. Harper nods. And one day, during a lecture, Cullen pauses for effect. He pulled out a gun. Harper nods and fired it in the classroom. Cullen spreads his hands. Not at anyone, but still. Harper shakes her head. His explanation? Cullen clears his throat dramatically. Quote, I wanted my students to experience fear firsthand. Harper groans. Yeah, that didn't go over well. Cullen flips the page. He was immediately fired. University career over. Harper raises a finger. And guess who hired him afterward? Cullen sighs. Arkham Asylum. Harper nods slowly. And the person running Arkham? Both speak at the same time. Hugo Strange. They pause. Cullen leans closer to the microphone. There are rumors that Crane is running psychological experiments on Arkham inmates. Harper raises her hands. But to be clear, none of that has been officially confirmed. Cullen shrugs. Still, if you fired a gun in a classroom to study fear, Harper finishes the thought. You probably shouldn't be working in a building full of mentally unstable criminals. Closing, Harper glances at the recording timer. All right, that's it for tonight's Arkham Deep Dive. Cullen nods. But next episode, Harper grins, we're talking about 2 Arkham inmates themselves. Cullen reads from the notes. First up, Buddy Standler. Harper laughs. You might know him better as Condiment King. Cullen groans. Please tell me he's not as ridiculous as he sounds. Harper smirks. Oh, it gets better. She taps the desk. We're also covering Margaret Pye. Cullen nods slowly, also known as our Magpie. Harper leans into the microphone. And trust me, that story gets weird. Outro music begins playing. Cullen waves toward the mic. Stay safe, Gotham, Harper adds quietly. And if you ever end up in Arkham. She pauses. Good luck. The music fades. Outside, thunder rolls over the city. End of episode.
Anyways, this goes over. Condiment King and Margaret Pie Magpie.
The Late Night Gotham podcast number 3, Condiments and Collectors. Rain pours outside. Inside the Rose siblings' apartment, the laptop screen glows again. Live, Late Night Gotham podcast. Intro music fades out. Harper Row, Good evening, Gotham, and welcome back to Late Night Gotham, where we talk about the city's weirdest stories after midnight. Cullen Rowe, and tonight's episode might be the strangest one yet. Harper laughs. Last episode, we talked about Arkham Asylum, the doctors running it, and some questionable hiring choices. Cullen nods. Yeah, specifically Hugo Strange and former Gotham University professor Jonathan Crane. Harper taps her notes. But tonight we're talking about two of Arkham's more unusual inmates. Cullen smirks. Let's start with the guy who somehow turned ketchup and mustard into weapons. Topic 1, Buddy Standler. Harper flips a page. Buddy Standler. Cullen chuckles, better known around Gotham as Condiment King. Harper sighs. Yes, that is unfortunately his real villain name. Cullen continues. Buddy used to be a stand-up comedian, performing in small Gotham clubs. Harper nods. And according to police reports, he wasn't very good. Cullen laughs. Apparently, after bombing one too many shows, he snapped. Harper gestures dramatically and decided to become a criminal themed around condiments. Cullen pretends to read from a police report, armed with mustard and ketchup dispensers modified into pressurized spray weapons. Harper shakes her head. He robbed a few small stores, vandalized restaurants, and caused general chaos. Cullen shrugs. And eventually got taken down by Batman. Harper smirks, which must be a weird moment in Batman's career. Cullen laughs. Imagine training your entire life to fight crime, and you end up wrestling a guy covered in mustard. Topic 2, Margaret Pye, Magpie. Harper's tone becomes more serious. All right, our next Arkham inmate isn't nearly as funny. Cullen nods. Margaret Pye. Harper continues, also known as Magpie. Cullen reads quietly. Margaret used to work at the Gotham City Museum. Harper nods. She was obsessed with rare jewels and historic artifacts. Cullen adds, and eventually that obsession turned into theft. Harper flips another page. She began stealing expensive jewelry across Gotham. Cullen leans closer to the mic. But here's the disturbing part. Harper sighs. She didn't just collect the jewels. Cullen finishes the sentence. She attacked anyone who tried to take them back. Harper nods. Eventually, she was caught and sent to Arkham Asylum. Cullen taps the desk. And recently, there have been rumors about strange incidents involving her. Harper shrugs. But Arkham hasn't released any official statements. Cullen sighs, which honestly is pretty normal for Arkham. Closing, Harper looks toward the timer. That's all for tonight's episode. Cullen nods. But next time... Harper smiles slightly. We're talking about one of Gotham's earliest assassins. Cullen reads from the notes. A killer who hasn't been seen in the city for a while. Harper leans into the microphone. Tally man. Cullen adds quietly, and if the rumors are true, people who owe money in Gotham might want to start paying up. Outro music begins. Harper says softly, stay safe, Gotham. Cullen finishes, and lock your doors. The broadcast ends. End of episode number 3.
And here is the last part of this.
The Late Night Gotham podcast number 4, The Collector of Debts. Rain patters against the window again. The familiar apartment studio glows with dim blue light. On the laptop screen, live Late Night Gotham podcast. Intro music fades in, then fades out. Harper Rowe, good evening, Gotham, and welcome back to Late Night Gotham, where we talk about the people who make living in this city complicated. Last episode, we covered 2 Arkham inmates, Condiment King and Magpie. Harper nods. And tonight we're talking about someone very different. Cullen glances at his notes. A killer who showed up during Gotham's early crime wave. Harper says quietly, Tally. Topic, Gotham's debt collector. Cullen leans toward the microphone. So here's what we know. Tallyman wasn't a typical assassin. Harper continues. He didn't work randomly. He specifically targeted people who owed money. Cullen flips through papers. Mob bosses, corrupt businessmen, loan sharks. Harper adds, and sometimes the people who borrowed money from them. Cullen nods. According to police records, Tallyman kept an actual list. Harper taps the desk, a tally. Cullen smirks, hence the name. A strange pattern. Harper reads from her notes. Victims were usually found with a small mark left behind. Cullen nods slowly. A tally mark scratched into nearby surfaces. Walls, tables, even doors. Cullen exhales. It was like he was counting something. Harper pauses. Maybe the people he eliminated. Cullen shrugs. Or maybe the debts he believed he was collecting. Early Gotham years. Harper scrolls through an article. Most of Tallyman's activity happened during the early years of Batman showing up in Gotham. Cullen nods. Back when organized crime still had a tight grip on the city. Harper leans forward. And interestingly, the killing suddenly stopped. Cullen looks up. No arrest. No body. No explanation. Harper folds her arms. Tallyman just disappeared. Rumors. Cullen lowers his voice slightly. There are rumors he may have been hired by someone powerful. Harper nods. Maybe someone who wanted Gotham's crime families cleaned up. Cullen shrugs. Or maybe he just ran out of names on his list. Harper glances out the window. Either way, he hasn't been seen in Gotham in years. Cullen taps the desk. But in this city, Harper finishes the sentence. People like that usually come back. Closing, Harper checks the timer. That's all for tonight's episode. Cullen leans into the mic. And remember Gotham. Harper smiles faintly. If someone ever tells you they're keeping track of you, Cullen finishes, you might want to start paying your debts. Outro music begins playing. The Late Night Gotham podcast logo fades on the laptop screen. The rain outside continues. End of episode number 4.